for our moment of silence to remember the 17 victims of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting.
In 13 months, I will be 18 years old. In 13 months, I will be able to own a gun, but I still won't be able to drive between 1 and 4 a.m. or drink a beer with my dad or anyone. You see, we put guns in the hands of the common people, and we say it's to protect, yet the common people are the ones we are protecting from. We put the blame on mental health. We say it's the person, it's the brain that tells the finger to pull the trigger. But what is it, in the end, doing the harm? How many children have to die? How many parents have to cry over their sons, daughters, husbands, wives before we realize that it is the bullet that does the harm? That it is the bullet piercing our skin, not the brain, finger, arm, but I suppose I shouldn't worry, because it'll never happen to me. Then tell me why I feel my heart race when I see an unfamiliar face in the hallways, why my heart races when I see a hooded figure running a little too fast, why I have to wonder if my teachers will soon become my bodyguards, why I have to wonder how they truly don't see the problem there. Now don't tell me that I don't have a voice, don't tell me I shouldn't worry, because I'm sure they all heard the same. I remember my father saying to me, something bad happened today, and as he explained what happened at the finish line of the race where he used to stand every time, I remember asking why. But I've grown immune to the news. Bombings, hijacks, mass shootings, collapsing, dying, wounds, nothing is new, so don't you dare tell me I shouldn't worry, that I am too young. Parkland was too young. Sandy Hook was too young. Columbine, Virginia Tech, Roseburg, Maysville, the list goes on. Too young. We still protect an amendment written 227 years ago for whites to have state armies to keep slaves in line because they didn't have the privilege of a national standing army. So can't you taste the irony? Because the U.S. has the #1 military in the world today, doesn't it give you anxiety that there have been more private gun deaths since 1968 than deaths in all U.S. wars, yet we can still debate? Well, times have changed. It's a cliche, but we have the voice and we have the weight, so stop listening when they say too young. Because if we are old enough to be risked lives, then we are old enough to strive.
This young boy decided to take a trip to the local gas station for a quick snack, unaware that his choice would lead to a fatal conclusion for him. On his way back from the convenience store, he became aware of a shady figure following him back to his father's house, and he made multiple efforts to lose him. Once his attempts fell short in evading this figure, a scuffle ensued among the two. That night, 29-year-old George Zimmerman, a neighborhood watch captain, decided to take matters into his own hands after seeing what he described to be a suspicious figure by following the young boy home and shooting him in the left side of his chest, sending a bullet straight into his heart. Once the police had arrived, they found the young boy lying face down in the grass. And just 3 minutes later, Trayvon Martin was pronounced dead, with nothing but a iced tea in his jacket pocket and blood splattered on his pack of Skittles. All of this befalling just under an hour from Disney World, the place where dreams come true. As for Neighborhood Watch Captain Zimmerman, a man who had a clear history of domestic violence and criminal misconduct throughout his life, a man who had showed explicit signs that called for prudence, was endowed as the leader of a safe, gated community, and even more, had the ability to purchase a deadly weapon. A man that walked away that night with no charges or arrests, but rather a headache and a bloody nose. Later found not guilty on accounts of self-defense, Zimmerman was involved in multiple death threats directed towards his wife's family, and innocent civilians that happened to cross paths with him at the wrong time. This same man, not even 2 years later, still had the ability to purchase a tactical shotgun made by the same manufacturer that created his handgun used to kill Trayvon Martin. The same handgun which he attempted to auction off, calling it a piece of American history. What can you tell a generation, a group, that thinks that they know it all? I mean, I guess I'll tell them something they don't know. Out of the 372 mass shootings of 2015, the deadliest year for such as of now, 2/3 of the incident were allegedly due to both gang-related intent and drug and alcohol abuse alike. And with minimal ambition to discredit any other point of view, I would be remiss if I left out the fact that roughly 3/4 of victims identified were black. And without truly addressing the problem where it prevails, we will be unable to work towards ridding of it. Now, before I go, I'd like to end with this. Evidence goes to show that not only a number of our law enforcement, but our elected officials as well, remain dormant and nearly blind to the fact that the violence in America solely stems from the negligence towards gun control security. More so, the lack of effort that is put into effect by Congress to tighten aspects within, like a thorough background check. And this forms another apparent question in my head. If these two major groups that serve as liabilities in our daily way of life, including our own safety, are unable to deliver, then who do we trust? Now, I've seen teenagers and adults, both with simple forms of protest like these posters or "Don't shoot" written on their hands, which is a fantastic way to spark and create conversation. But considering all the mass shootings that we've suffered through as a culture, as a nation, and as a people, I ask everybody a final essential question. Something as serious as gun control, what are we doing to protect ourselves and our loved ones? Are we doing anything to prevent these public executions from repeatedly occurring, just so that we can come out of our shells for a small amount of time, speak on the issue at hand for another 2 to 3 days at most, and then stand back as if our hands are tied? I know that this country was constructed and built by strong leaders, and the strength and perseverance rooted in our nation is carried through our generation and generation into us. Now, with that being said, I call upon any and all civilized persons to take action to display the leaders that we have always been and will continue to be, to work to overcome the barriers that we first must work together in pushing through them. For this movement starts and ends with us. And one more thing. I know that the fight against stronger gun control costs millions of dollars, but I want you all to remember, peace doesn't cost a thing. Thank you.
The Supreme Court of the United States stated 64 years ago that they could not look at the Brown versus Board of Education case the way they had in 1896 when segregation was legalized. The entire case was decided on the feelings and psychological impacts of children in schools. If we were able to make improvements to the American way of life over 60 years ago, then why can't we do it today? Enough, I say to you.
No more silence and gun violence! No more silence and gun violence!
And while I am hopeful, and on days like today, I am certain that change will come, I regret that for so many, it will be arriving all too late. There are many things we cannot understand, and regret will not help us learn. Regret is nestled away in the corners of my mouth, like stones that I can no longer learn to talk around. I hear it without listening. I see it without thinking. It taps me on my shoulder and it refuses to be silenced. We, like the deepest caverns of our tucked away regret, must refuse to be silenced. We must use our sorrow as our momentum and our momentum as our strength. Dear Jamie, I promise that I will speak my voice for both of us. I promise that I will use my powerful voice to communicate with our senators, our peers, our children, our legislators, our teachers, our protesters, and to anyone who will stand beside us or sit us down. Because even among all of the things that my powerful voice can do, I can never use it to hear yours.
Gun violence! No more silence and gun violence! Democracy looks like! Show me what democracy looks like! This is what democracy looks like! Show me what democracy looks like! This is what democracy looks like! This is what democracy looks like! This is what democracy looks like! Show me what democracy looks like! This is what democracy looks like! Who calls BS? We call BS!
Friends and homework to deal with, and now we've chosen a political movement to keep track of.
Had no money to go to bail.
Keep your eyes on the prize.
Keep your eyes on the prize.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Everyone ready to pick from the beginning? 1, 2, 3. Paul and Silas found in jail. Had no money to go to bail. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. You guys are awesome.